This year is a particularly interesting year, given of all the changes that happened with COVID-19 and the transformation and acceleration of digital lives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CyberWire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner from the CyberWire, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan from the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
We got some good stories to share this week, and later in the show, Darren Shu, he is the Chief Technology Officer at Norton-LifeLock, and he's bringing us some insights on some of the scams he and his colleagues have been tracking. Have you ever been to security training? We have. What's it been like for you? If you're like us, ladies and gentlemen, it's the annual compliance drill, a few hours of PowerPoint in the staff break room. Refreshments in the form of sugary donuts and tepid coffee are sometimes provided, but a little bit of your soul seems to die every time the trainer says, "Next slide." Well, okay, we exaggerate, but you know what we mean. Stay with us, and in a few minutes, we'll hear from our sponsors at KnowBe4, who have a different way of training. All right, Joe, before we dig into our stories here, we have a little bit of follow-up. I will go ahead and read it here. It says, "Hi, Dave and Joe. I hope you are well." Thank you very much. So I heard you talking about free learning resources over the past few weeks. I'm a big fan of TryHackMe, which is tryhackme.com. Their site has many free learning paths, and the whole site can be accessed for £8 per month or £72 per year. I don't know what that is in real money. Right. The learning paths include a wide variety that cater to all levels and many different disciplines. I think the site is great for anyone looking to start out in the industry. Their subscription also includes access to an attack box if you don't have the resources or knowledge to start up your own virtual machine. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
The listener says, "I'm an avid user of this site. I have no affiliation with them." Mm-hmm. In addition, PortSwigger has a free academy for web pen testing, which is very useful for anyone exploring web pen testing. That's portswigger.net/web-security. Hope these are useful to your listeners. All the best, Robert.
Robert, thank you very much. These are great suggestions. I also would like to add one that I'm surprised I hadn't mentioned before. HackerOne has a program called Hacker 101, and you can just Google Hacker 101 or HackerOne, Hacker 101. HackerOne is a company that does bug bounties. They manage companies' bug bounties for them. And, of course, anybody can become an affiliate of HackerOne. And in order for them to increase their number of affiliates, they offer a great free training program.
Oh, nice.
That's available.
All
right. It's totally free, and you can go there. So those resources that Robert listed, as well as Hacker 101, there's some suggestions for people who are looking for them.
All right, terrific. Well, thank you for sending that in. We do appreciate it. Joe, let's move on to our stories this week. Why don't you start things off for us?
Dave, this week I have a story from a listener.
Very
which
good.
Is interesting. He reached out to me. His name is Cedric, and he is a real estate investor who is new to the field of real estate investing.
Okay.
Cedric and his partner were looking to put a contract on a house, and they found one that was a good investment, and then they went looking for the financing so they didn't lose their earnest money. They were looking for something called a hard money loan. Have you ever heard of a hard money loan?
No.
New term to me as well. According to Investopedia, it's a loan that is secured by real estate, so kind of like a mortgage, but it's a shorter term loan, and it's generally offered by individuals or companies, but not by banks. So these are financing people who are looking to make a little bit of money in real estate by offering these loans to people, and the loan is secured with a lien against the house they're buying.
I see. So is this for folks who I could imagine this being useful for someone who is looking to buy a house, renovate it, and then turn around and sell it quickly. In other words, someone who's not looking to live in the home, but is either going to flip the house or have it as an investment or something like that.
It is almost tailor-made for that use case.
I see. Okay.
Right? Cedric is in this Facebook group called Hard Money for Real Estate Investors, and someone named Dan posts that he says he's offering hard money loans. And Cedric reaches out to this guy and knows right away, once this guy starts getting back to him, that it's a scam, right? The guy claims that he can offer a 100% loan-to-value financing. And in other words, they're going to fund the purchase of the house, which some lenders do, but only if you have experience in flipping houses and you have really good credit.
Okay.
And Cedric is new to this, so he was a little bit dubious of the claim, right? So then Cedric receives an email from this guy requesting the same personal information that you would provide when you're applying for a mortgage, which I don't know how different that is from when you're applying for a hard money loan, but it seems like it's a lot of information.
Yeah, like I was thinking when you said all the information you provide for getting a mortgage, which is basically all of it.
Right. It's an examination, Dave.
Right.
It's an unpleasant, uncomfortable examination.
Yes.
When you go to the doctor and get those examinations, at least those are quick. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
The mortgage
and
process
it's one-on-one. Yeah,
Right.
this is a whole lot of people involved.
Yeah, it's a miserable process. I hate getting mortgages. However, the PDF document had some spelling errors in it, and there were some grammatical mistakes in the email. So Cedric goes, I'm done, and he just walks away, right?
Okay, good.
So the guy comes back a couple days later, and Cedric says no. And then the guy says, all I need is a 1% down payment to process this house application. Once approved, the funds will be available for the transaction. Now, this house is on the market, or Cedric has got a contract to buy this house for $170,000.
Okay.
So that's $1,700 this guy wants.
Okay.
He's trying to scam people out of $1,700. And Cedric, again, tells him, no, I'm done. I'm not doing that, and hangs up.
Okay.
The guy reaches out a third time on Facebook Messenger, and this time Cedric says, you know what? This would make a good story for hacking humans. He's thinking of us, Dave.
Oh, wow. Way to go, Cedric.
So he does a little bit of scam baiting here. And he says, okay, fine. Send me the instructions and how I get the 1% down payment to you. And the guy says, well, it's a wire transfer, right? And I need you to send it to our notary agent.
Okay.
And he provides all of the PII, the personal identifiable information for the notary agent. This is this person's home address, their bank account number, their routing number for the bank, which is actually publicly available, but the account number is private. And Cedric goes, okay, so I know what this is. Let me look up this person. He finds out this person is an 80-year-old woman that lives in North Carolina.
Oh.
So probably not a notary agent.
No, I know where this is going, but go on.
Well, so Cedric knows the scammer has access to this lady's account. So this woman is actually a victim here, probably.
And Cedric also has access to that account, right? I mean, if he has the bank account details.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. He has all the information, including the SWIFT number.
Right.
It's a lot of information these guys have. Somehow they've compromised this lady, but probably through some other social engineering attack.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like she's a money mule. She's she doesn't know. We've talked about these sorts of scams where people they think they're just doing regular little accounting jobs, you know, and the scammers tell them, oh, the money needs to flow through your account, but don't worry, we'll pay you a cut of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That could be that. It could be that they just have access to her account and just use it as a transfer point.
Right.
She could be, or there's I think it's unlikely, but she could be in on it. But I think that's kind of unlikely.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm willing to provide just about everybody the presumption of innocence.
She's the matriarch kingpin of this entire operation, running from a retirement home in North Carolina,
right.
all the way to the bank.
So at this point, Cedric lets the scammer know that the jig is up. He says, I know what's going on here. This is a scam. I know it's a scam. The scammer is, of course, nonplussed, to say the least, right?
Yeah,
He's very upset.
Sure.
But since there's a compromised bank account involved, Cedric does the right thing and he notifies the FBI as well.
Oh, excellent.
So hopefully the account has been secured. The person who was being used as a money mule is hopefully now no longer being used that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that this guy is no longer available on Facebook to try to scam people out of hard money loans. But don't worry, he'll be back.
Yeah.
He doesn't walk away from this.
Well, and I would guess, too, that Cedric doesn't share whether or not this happened, but I'm guessing, based on what we've seen so far from Cedric, that they've informed the rest of the Facebook group.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He did inform the rest of the Facebook group about it. Yep.
Yeah.
He did tell me that.
Okay. Well, it's a good lesson for everybody. And hats off to Cedric for doing the right thing. And a little bonus is that you saved some of it for us. So
yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Cedric.
We appreciate that very much. All right. Wow. Interesting story. Well, Joe, I think this week, instead of having a news story, I'm going to continue our conversation about passwords and multifactor authentication.
Okay.
So one of our listeners reached out to us. It was a Twitter user who goes by @CoinSiglieri on Twitter. So I suspect it's some sort of either someone who's involved with cryptocurrency or perhaps just collecting coins.
Yes.
I don't know. but a clever turn of phrase there. So
It is a very
hats
clever
off
turn
to
of
you
phrase.
for there. And this person reached out after hearing our recent show and said, you ask what would help people adopt two-factor auth. I say tell folks what they can do once they set up 2FA and lose or change phones. My guess, fear of being locked out of accounts is a main obstacle. Also, provide option other than giving cell number to every website. Thank you. Great show. Okay, so this hit home for me because I'm in the midst of this, Joe.
Are you?
Yes.
What has happened, Dave?
So, as you know, I am a regular over on the Grumpy Old Geeks podcast.
Yes.
Fun show. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. A little spicy language over there, so be warned. But the Grumpy Old Geeks show has a Discord server, right? So a Discord chat area where folks who are fans of the show can go and chat about the show, and it's pretty active. And so I thought, this would be great for me to check in here from time to time and interact with the listeners of the show. So I set up a Discord account, which I had not done before.
Uh-huh.
And after, not long after setting up this account, which being the secure person that I am, I set up multifactor authentication.
Okay.
And not long after setting up the account, I got a new phone.
Uh-huh.
Guess what happened next, Joe?
Did you hand in your old phone?
Well, I passed the phone down to my son.
Who did a factory reset on it.
Yes, exactly.
And that immediately deleted the seed that you had for your Discord one-time password, time-based authentication.
You are on the right track here, Joe.
Okay.
So ever since then, I've been unable to access my Discord account. And I've come at it a couple times. And here's what happens. I come at it, and part of this is because I forget. It's kind of like how our wives tell us about giving birth. Like the only way you have a second child is because you forget about what it's like to have the first child.
Yes.
It's been like that where I come at it and I say, all right, I'm going to try to get back in my Discord account, and I log in and it says, what's your username? And I get my username and it says, what's your password? And I say, tell you what, let's reset my password. So I click on reset password. They send me an email. I respond to that. I reset the password. I use my password manager to generate a random password, generates the password, goes in. It says, great, your new password has been accepted. Now, what's your multi-factor authentication code? And that sound you hear is me banging my head against the desk. And that's where it stops because I don't have access to the thing that generates that code.
Did you get backup codes?
Joe, I don't know if I got back. I mean, sure. Let's
Right.
say I did.
But you didn't save them.
Well, maybe I did. I don't know. So
Okay.
shame on me for that. I bet you if I don't know, if I went looking through emails or who knows. But so yes, look, I take full responsibility that part of this is on me. A large part of this is on me for not putting in place all the things to make this easier. But in the meantime, it's been about a year. I can't get, and the reason so why this is timely is I just came at this the other day, right? Just
Again.
a few days ago, I came at it again. And part of it was because I'd forgotten about banging my head against the desk when I came at it the first time.
Right.
So a friend of mine said to me, hey, I got this thing on Discord. We can do this thing. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. So, wait a minute. Right.
Yeah.
So bottom line is I ended up just creating a new Discord account
Right.
using a different email address.
Yep.
But that's not ideal.
It's
And
not ideal.
I'm sure I could reach out to Discord and go through whatever hoops I need to jump through, probably send them a copy of my driver's license, my birth certificate, and a blood sample
Right.
to get the multi-factor either disabled or reset or who knows what. Long story short, I know too late.
Right.
Consigliere is absolutely right that this whole thing of if you get a new phone or you lose your phone or something happens to your phone and you're using multi-factor, this can be a royal pain in the butt.
Yes, it can be. You are 100% correct. Now, I have in the past experienced something very similar to this.
Okay.
I accidentally did a hardware reset on my phone as a part of a support call at one point in time.
Yep.
not realizing that I had a bunch of Google Authenticator one-time codes on there.
Right.
Or actually, it was just one of them at the time for work. And
nothing important.
Right.
Just my livelihood.
But here's the thing. Fortunately for me, I learned this lesson early on, and I could call my office's JHU's tech support and say, I lost my my Google Authenticator passcode because I reset my phone. And they were like, okay, fine. Well, we'll just reset it. They know who I am. They know.
Right.
So that was easy.
Did you hang your head in shame being from the computer brainiac part of Johns Hopkins
Information Security Institute?
Right.
I have securely locked myself out of my.
Right. So at least the system was working.
Right.
Right.
That being said, now, since I learned that lesson, what I do now is when you enable two-factor authentication with one of those apps, there is usually a backup way to get in. Like here are give me some codes. Like I think Google will give you a set of passcodes that will let you in. And I save those in a text file for the website, and I keep that on an encrypted drive. And I keep
locked under in a mason jar under Funkenwagnall's porch.
Yes, essentially.
Okay.
It's not an encrypted drive that's connected to any computer. It's on a little USB memory stick.
Right.
It's backed up on other media as well. So it's a VeraCrypt drive. The VeraCrypt is a free piece of software you can use to create encrypted volumes if you have data that you want to secure, especially if you're keeping it offline. It's a good tool. But it does take a little bit of expertise. And Coinsigliere is right. I might not have the same level of empathy for people because I'm willing to do this security stuff. I'm willing to set up a VeraCrypt drive. I'm willing to save this information in these text files.
Right.
But you can also print them out as well and keep them in a file somewhere.
Yeah.
That's also a viable solution.
Yeah.
Really, your threat model is people attacking you across the internet. People breaking into your house to steal. People are not going to break into your house to steal access codes. They're going to break into your house to steal your jewelry and your wallet.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And maybe your documents. So don't keep it with where you keep your birth certificates. Keep it somewhere else. And,
a mason jar under the front porch.
Right. And remember, you should still use this with your banks because banks have a customer service organization, right?
Yeah.
If you get locked out of your customer service or out of your banking account, this wouldn't be a big problem, right? Like if this had happened with your bank, you'd just go to the branch and get this resolved, right?
Yeah.
But when it happens with a nameless or not nameless, but a faceless monster like Discord, Facebook, Twitter, Google, anything like that, you're hosed. You're essentially hosed because they have no support mechanism to try to do it. And I'm not sure that they can do that at scale because as soon as you do that, every single fraudster is going to be trying to log into your account is going to be trying to call them and or use that system. They'll just clog it.
Right. Now, so here, this led me to another line of thinking that I want to run by you, which is this. So I'm thinking that YubiKeys might be the best way to go here. And this is why. Because I was thinking about, we all have car keys, right?
Yes.
Those of us who have cars, we have car keys. And our car keys unlock our cars. And they start our cars. And for most of us, our car is probably the second most valuable thing we have besides our house. Which, may I point out, also has a key.
Right.
Right? A physical key. Now, some of us have digital locks, blah, blah. Okay, fine, whatever. But for the most part, most of us have car keys. Car keys have gotten more sophisticated. They have their digital car keys and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is we still have a physical object that needs to be in proximity of the vehicle to unlock the car.
Right.
Right? And I don't think very many of us are saying, oh, God, this is such a hassle. I really wish, but my next car isn't going to have a key because this is just too much of a hassle carrying this car key around. No, we've adjusted. We know cars come with keys. It's what we're conditioned to do.
Right.
Right? So why not, with the things that are valuable to us online, have the same sort of thing? You got something valuable that you want to protect, you got a key. It's a physical key. You have it with your car keys. Most of the time, I have my car key nearby, my house key. Right?
Right.
Why not? What do you think of this, Joe?
I think it's a good idea. I use a YubiKey to secure a lot of my accounts, like my Facebook account and any other account where I can use it. But I use 2 YubiKeys.
Okay. It's a belt and suspenders.
Well, it protects me against the use case where, like with your phone, if you lose your YubiKey or it gets damaged.
Yeah.
Right. So I have 2 YubiKeys configured to grant me access to these accounts. And you can do that on these accounts. They'll both do it.
I'm with you now. Yes. Yes.
So if the one that I keep with me all the time gets damaged, I still have one at my house in a safe location that grants me access.
I do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
So
yep.
If you're going to use a YubiKey, use 2.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, again, thank you to our listener, Coinsigliere, for sending in this kind note, and I appreciate it. And like I say, I suppose I'm done with my Discord woes by punting and just starting a new account. Just, fortunately, I didn't have anything really valuable in the other one, but it's less than ideal. And I'm just wondering, from now on, if I have the choice, am I going to go with a YubiKey rather than, an app-based authenticator on my phone? Because, as Coinsigliere said, this whole thing with if you lose your phone, it's a nightmare.
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. All right. Good points. So thank you for sending that in. We would love to hear from you. If you have something you would like us to discuss on our show, you can email us to hackinghumans@thecyberwire.com. All right, Joe, it is time to move on to our catch of the day.
Dave, we have a couple of short ones today. Because they were short, I chose 2 of them.
All
and
right.
the first one comes from a listener named Price, who received a text message that reads,
You just sent a payment to Robert Hill of $13.50 USD. If you do not recognize this transaction, please visit the support page.
And then it has a bit.ly link right after that.
Okay.
And I went to bit.ly and put a plus after that and found out that link just links to an IP address.
Oh, interesting.
Which is interesting
Mm-hmm.
with a tag on the end. Price goes on to say, I'm unwilling to click the link. Yeah, I would think so. Random texts are common, but this was a little extra aggressive in the attempt to invoke an emotional response. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary, but yeah, it is kind of aggressive. I've received at least a few others about insurance or a fake bank notification from someone pretending to be my actual financial institution. So he has a financial institution, and he says, unfortunately, because mortgage information is publicly available, they can send him these texts pretending to be him, or pretending to be the institution with whom he actually does business.
Right.
It's like those mails you get in your the physical mail you get all the time, telling you to refinance your loan with whatever loan you have, lender you have.
Mm-hmm. Right, or your car warranty's about to expire. Somehow they know what car, or they, usually with me, it's like 3 cars ago. You
right.
Right.
The next one actually comes from a listener named Ronald. He says, see the attachment I received the other day. At first glance, I said, that's strange. I just paid that subscription. Then I read the whole mail, obviously trying to get me to call the number and give up my PII.
Dear respected subscriber, your yearly subscription for Norton PC Security has been successfully renewed and updated. The debited amount will be reflected within next 24 to 48 hours on your account profile. And then it has a product description. If you wish to claim a refund, then please feel free to contact our billing department as soon as possible. You can reach us on, and then there's an 866 number.
Right.
Regards, billing department.
Now, note, Dave, the 866 number is very oddly spaced, isn't it?
It is very odd, yes, very oddly formatted.
I believe that is to get through spam filters.
I believe you are correct.
Right.
It is conspicuously so.
Right. Also, the price is interesting. It's a $251.51. Not a round number.
No.
But I wonder why.
I don't know. It's probably some psychological reason for that.
Yep.
I don't know. Interesting. Makes it look like they're charging tax or something.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting.
I think these are both interesting.
Yeah.
Good catches. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Price.
And again, if you would like to send us a catch of the day, you can do so. The email address is hackinghumans@thecyberwire.com. And now back to that question we asked earlier about training. Our sponsors at KnowBe4 want to spring you from that break room with new school security awareness training. They've got the world's largest security awareness training library, and its content is always fresh. KnowBe4 delivers interactive, engaging training on demand. It's done through the browser and supplemented with frequent simulated social engineering attacks by email, phone, and text. Pick your categories to suit your business. Operate internationally? KnowBe4 delivers convincing, real-world proven templates in 24 languages. And wherever you are, be sure to stay on top of the latest news and information to protect your organization with KnowBe4's weekly Cyber Heist News. We read it, and we think you'll find it valuable, too. Sign up for Cyber Heist News at knowbe4.com/news. That's knowbe4.com/news. All right, Joe, I recently had the pleasure of speaking with Darren Shu. He is the Chief Technology Officer over at Norton LifeLock, and we're discussing some research that they all recently published where they've been tracking some of the scams that Darren and his colleagues have had an eye on lately. Here's my conversation with Darren Shu.
This is our 6th annual report, and we do it for two purposes. One is you really want to get an understanding of how consumers are feeling about cyber safety and privacy needs and concerns, because the cybersecurity landscape is always changing and evolving, right? This year is a particularly interesting year, given of all the changes that happened with COVID-19 and the transformation and acceleration of digital lives. And then we can take this work that comes out of the Cyber Safety Insights report and then also combine it with what our protection labs is seeing in our telemetry from our threat telemetry databases.
Well, let's dig into that together. I mean, as you mentioned, I think it's fair to say, and I think all of us understand, that this past year was a bit atypical, but one of the results of that is that people spent a lot more time online.
In fact, in our cyber safety report, most people, I think it was a little bit over 65%, said they spent more time online than ever before. And of course, this makes perfect sense. I'm a father working from home for the last year myself. My daughter immediately went to an online learning environment. I mean, it felt like it was overnight. And so in my family, at least, and maybe for many other people, someone, my child who I had never thought about really giving her own screen, her own device, overnight, it was, I have to give it to her so that she can be educated, so that she can engage with people. It became her window into the world. And then for my wife and I both working from home, it became the way that we, interact with our employers and our colleagues. So everybody was doing that online, not to mention the fact of how we got food, especially in the early weeks and months of the pandemic. So really, the device became our life online. I think that's probably true for a lot of people.
And so how did that reflect in the findings for this year's report? What sort of things are you tracking?
Yeah, so you're right. You have a number of people experiencing cybercrime and also just experiencing identity theft. So what we saw was there were about 330 million cybercrime victims over the past 12 months that the survey covered, and about 55 million identity victims. Kind of to put that in perspective, you think about that being in the United States, 2 of 5 people experienced cybercrime as more and more people went online this year. I mean, that's a huge amount of folks experiencing kind of a double whammy, right? You've got the physical virus taking over the world and impacting us in unimaginable ways. And then we also have kind of the impacts of cybercrime, right? Whether it be from malware or phishing or fraud, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to kind of spell out, what are the spectrum of things that people are experiencing here? What falls into the category of cybercrime as you all tracked it?
Right. So, this covers quite a bit, from malicious software to, disruptions from the network access. Maybe it is even as you're working from home, having your personal Wi-Fi network attacked, or unauthorized access on a smart device that maybe had a web camera. or takeover of a social media account or a gaming account as people went online. One thing that was really personal for me was seeing that, having my child being online, but also having her experience a little bit of bullying as she was engaging in chat rooms, which was a brand new experience for her to go online, see her teacher, see her colleagues, and even do kind of what I would call, I guess, a cyber play date, and yet experience maybe some unwanted, interactions as people are getting used to this entire new way of living.
Wow. Yeah. Well, what are you seeing sort of from the other side of it? How are people responding? Is there recognition among folks out there that they had to up their game in terms of protecting themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. In the survey, we saw that more than 2/3, I think the exact number, 77% of people surveyed said they're taking more precautions to be safer online. The flip side of that, though, is still a significant portion. More than 2 out of 5 really need more help in knowing what to do. And the key to this is kind of two things, I think. One, when I think about the problem, this is natural. In the physical world, it's pretty understood that the presence of light and the absence of darkness makes us feel safe. And the majority of people, almost 2/3 of people, will change their behaviors and their habits after dark. I think what happened in this last year with COVID, but also a huge rise in cybercrime against consumers, is that people realize they need to change their habits online. Now, the other thing I was going to mention about that is, okay, so how do you give people back that control? And I think it's two things. It's education, and then you've got to empower them with the tools and the habits that are going to give back that ability to understand what's a threat online and what isn't. And when you do that, you not only regain control, but regain that sense of safety, right? That feeling of the absence of harm, which is really, I don't know if we really think about it that way often enough. But if you talk about cybersecurity, I often feel we think security, okay, barbed wire, concrete fences, right? Locks on doors. But what is cyber safety? And I think the answer to that is, well, what makes us feel safe online? And that's a very interesting way to approach it. And I think that's the way a lot of consumers think about it.
Right. What is the cyber equivalent of turning on that front porch light?
That's right. And when you have that front porch light on, in this case, oftentimes we are the light, right? We're that spotlight for people, and we're able to discern, hey, is this a virus or not? Is this a phishing attack or not? Or as you're going online to get news, is this misinformation or disinformation, or is this trusted information? How do we empower people to make those decisions in their best interests? In fact, one of the things we saw a lot of during COVID-19 is everybody kind of rushed to have more devices and use them more ways. Unfortunately, we saw cyber criminals increase tech support scams. It's an old scam, but in our telemetry and from our support contacts, we saw up to an 1,800% increase year over year.
Wow. For those of us who have the responsibility, for our families, and I'm thinking particularly for, maybe elderly parents, what sort of suggestions do you have for ways that we can do our part to help make them safer?
So that's an interesting question. And when we look at vulnerable populations, you mentioned one. Okay, so how can we take care of our parents? I think there's a few things that are happening already that we have to just have the context for. One is, with so much change happening in the physical world of, dealing with COVID and changes to our routines, there is basically a body budget when we think about our stress. And everybody has had some kind of depletion of their energy and increase of stress, I would imagine. And then you've got, lay it on top of that, the changes to routines, how we shop, how we deal with things online. Then you combine that with the fact that we have these assistance programs that are coming out from governments, from others, and everybody's reaching out and saying, okay, here's what you need to do, and you haven't maybe done this before. So you combine an increase of stress, change to routines, and the availability of new assistance. But all of these things are really happening also through the channel of online. So when you take that context, how can we help anybody, whether it's our children or whether it's someone we're taking care of, or a family member, understand how to operate in that environment? And I think the first piece of advice I would say is you got to slow down and really have a critical eye to what we're doing. Otherwise, the brain's natural operating system will encounter the equivalent of a human 0 day, right? Where the prediction errors lead us into some bad places. And that's where you click on a phishing email, or that's where you fall victim to a scam, or that's where, you can leak information that can be used against you, right? And you cause all sorts of problems, or you fall victim to these attackers. And that's, of course, on top of the regular cyber hygiene that we would traditionally recommend, right? Keep your software updated. You're using it more. If you're driving your car more, you would check your tires more often. Maybe, I was going to say you also have to fill up the gas, but in an electric car world, what would be the equivalent of check your brakes off? And if you're driving the car more, you're going to wear through your tires and your brakes. It's the same thing.
Right.
You use your computer more. Let's make sure that we keep your software updated, right? And of course, then you have all the other things you need to think about. You're online more. If you're using a home Wi-Fi network, maybe you need to be thinking about how you check the security of that device, because it has its own password. It has its own operating system. It needs to be kept up to date. But you might also, want to use a virtual private network or a VPN to maintain that kind of secure communication, because you're doing banking at home. You're doing your work at home, right? And of course, I think the most important thing is talk about it, right? Maybe you're talking to your parents about what the use should be like, and what to experience, and what to do if they're seeing any kind of scams. Maybe just reach out and phone you and talk to you about it.
Yeah, keep those lines of communication open. Also, I suppose, so that they're able to inform you if they feel like something is unusual.
Absolutely, right? I think what you want to do, and it kind of goes to that slow down and think about it, is you have to turn a critical eye to a lot of these scams, right? It's worth doing that. Sometimes I think about the way the human brain works, because security often, when we talk about cybersecurity professionals, we often talk about device security or network security. What I'm really focused on is individual security, right? How do we protect that human operating system? And one of the things we have to be really careful of is we all actively participate in determining what we perceive. And by slowing down, we really bring more awareness to what we're doing and how we're creating, and how our mind is creating explanations of things, right? So an example of this would be, I need to apply for, a stimulus, maybe PPP loan. Maybe I need to apply for unemployment. How do I do that? And so how do you think about making sure that with all these other disruptions I mentioned, you build in that ability to critically create the right constructions to examine it and make sure that it's being safe and that it's legitimate, right? Or get the tools and education that will help you do that.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
Good interview, Dave. Some interesting takeaways from this. In the past year, nearly 330 million people across 10 countries were victims of cybercrime.
Wow.
330 million people. That is almost the population of the United States, which is the third most populous country in the world. 55 million people had been victims of identity theft. Again, that's a lot of people. Business in the cyber criminal market is booming, Dave.
Right.
It's very good. 77% of people said they are taking more precautions but need more help in knowing what to do. I say do these two things. Number one, use multifactor authentication, despite our complaints earlier in the show about it.
Right.
Still, it's worth it, particularly if it's with some financial institution where you hold money. Very, very important. If it's with your work, very, very important. And those things are very easy to recover from in the event you lose your multi-factor authentication methodology. The second thing I always recommend is use a password manager and let that password manager pick random passwords for every single site that you visit.
Right.
It goes a long way to protecting you. It protects you. Some of them, if they're browser integrated, can protect you from phishing attacks. These two things, multi-factor authentication and password manager, are still the two best things you can do to protect yourself. I like Darren's analogy about changing your behavior after dark, right? We all change our behavior after dark. We're a little more wary because that's where bad things happen. But
Right, that's when the monsters come out.
that's right. It's always nighttime on the internet, though, Dave.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just standing around with handsfuls of cash on the internet.
The entire internet is a bad neighborhood.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You don't want to be walking through there
Yeah.
unprotected.
Sure.
Think of it that way. Think of the entire internet as a bad neighborhood.
Mhm.
It's a great way to do it because you never know when someone's going to approach you and that they are who they say they are. They have really good disguises in this bad neighborhood.
Mhm.
You know, it's like the old detective shows where the guy would rip off the mask and one actor would become another actor.
Yeah.
But it's very much like that anywhere on the internet. Since the dawn of the pandemic, Dave, there's been a ton of stuff that we're doing online that we've never done before, and a lot more people are spending a lot more time online.
Mm-hmm.
And Darren says what we have heard many times before, and we've also said this as well: slow down.
Right.
And that brings more, it helps you bring more awareness to the situation. Just be mindful of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Be aware.
Yeah.
Talk about this stuff with your family. And again, we hear somebody saying, think critically about everything online.
Yeah.
Every single thing you see online, think critically about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, again, our thanks to Darren Shu from Norton LifeLock for joining us. We do appreciate him taking the time. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors, KnowBe4. They are the social engineering experts and the pioneers of new school security awareness training. Be sure to take advantage of their free phishing test, which you can find at knowbe4.com/phishtest. Think of KnowBe4 for your security training. That is our show. We want to thank all of you for listening. And of course, we want to thank the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute for their participation. You can learn more at isi.jhu.edu. The Hacking Humans podcast is proudly produced in Maryland at the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our senior producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpe. I'm Dave Bittner.
And I'm Joe Kerrigan.
Thanks for listening.